but we can turn that
I spend a lot of my life talking to large audiences.
on. Yeah. Well, welcome to this presentation by the Scandinavian Collectors Club. I'm Evan Bryant. I'm the current president. I just got back into Flattley 5 years ago during COVID. I liked it as a child, but I realized now how little I actually knew about Flattley as a child. And in short order, I fell into the role of president of SEC, a society I didn't even know existed 5 years ago. It's a great honor today to introduce Chris King, who is one of the most famous philatelists in not just the Nordic world, but in the world. He's an RDP, he's a fellow of the Royal Philatelic Society of London. He is, just as of last year, along with his wife, Victa, new honorary members of Scandinavian Collectors Club, the highest honor we bestow on our members. And it's just a great honor to welcome Chris and to thank him for giving this presentation on Copenhagen Telephone Kiosks. Thank you, Chris.
There's no lecture hall in the world where the back row is filled up before the front row. So will the guys in the back come and move a little bit further forward? It's the iron law of lecture halls. You go to a university and give a lecture, the first 4 rows are empty, always. Okay, perfect. I always feel a bit of a fraud doing this sort of thing because I was a secret collector until 2000. So I'd collected since about 1953 to 2000 without telling anybody I was a stamp collector publicly. And then in 2000, I got into exhibiting. And yeah, I got into exhibiting and really we haven't stopped since. I think philately is one of the most sociable of hobbies, the most entertaining of hobbies, and can bring people together. So thanks for coming this morning. Can I just ask who's been to Copenhagen? That's a start. Great. And Beata, of course. Yeah. So Copenhagen, you can see this picture here with the this strange looking object. You find these all over Copenhagen, the center of the city. And they're telephone kiosks. Of this more later on. So the first thing is, why isn't this moving? There. Good. First thing is, this is Denmark. It's a pointy bit sticking out in the north of Germany. Here we've got the population 1895, the whole country is 2.2 to 2.3 million. There's a lot of islands in Denmark, over 400 named islands. At the end of the 19th century, there was rapid population growth and a shift from being an agricultural country to becoming a much more industrial and agricultural country. This is called Jutland. It's where my wife is from. She thinks it's the real Denmark and Copenhageners are the enemy. And this is Funen, which is the island in the center of Denmark. And this is Zealand, which is the island on which Copenhagen is. This is a place called Helsingør, which is Elsinore, Hamlet, etc. This is Hamburg. And here is Copenhagen with a population of about 350,000 in the mid-1890s. So Copenhagen had a footpost from 1849. In 1851, there was a local stamp issued which looked like this. And this was enough to, the single one of these was enough to carry a letter within the inner part of Copenhagen. 1871, there was a post law, the new postal law in Denmark. 1875, they changed the currency. 1875, Denmark joined the General Postal Union. 1876, the old foot post in Copenhagen closed and became part of the General Post Office. And there were a lot of complaints about the quality of the postal delivery service. Surprise, surprise. Denmark had a lot of local postal services following 1879, 19th July, when these became legal. And they were introduced because the post office was not working particularly well. And there was a post office established in Copenhagen in 1879, Copenhagen's town and household telegraph. They had stamps like this. 1888, a new law came in forbidding the establishment of new local posts because the Danish post office was being destroyed by the local postal services and was losing money. And then in 1892, of the 17 local posts, only one remained. And there were still parcel carriers. So if you're interested in local postal services, there's an awful lot of stamps that you can collect and labels you can collect from this era. The telephone. You'll know from movies that this is how telephones used to look, like this. And the first telegraph and telephone boxes were set up in Copenhagen. So there were public telephone stations, and there were very, very few private telephone lines. 1881, the Bell Telephone Company established itself, American company established itself in Copenhagen, supported by a financier called Carl Friedrich Tietgen, who was an amazing entrepreneur. And he managed a year later to take over Bell Telephone. And he established a company called Copenhagen's Telephone Company. That's Copenhagen's Telephone Aktieselskab, KTAS. And his target was wealthy businesses, wealthy homeowners. And 7 years later, they still only had 1,000, just shy of 1,500 subscribers out of more than 250,000 people in Copenhagen. This was no way to make a business. This is Tietgen, by the way, on a silver medal. So, meanwhile, in another part of Denmark, the telegraph service is being set up. And I won't bother you with this terribly, but they produce some very nice greetings telegrams. These are very collectible. I didn't bring any with me because, there was enough baggage to carry anyway. So, but they produce these beautiful greeting telegrams. And then a new company, Copenhagen's Telephone Kiosk company, was set up, and they erected these telephone boxes. This is a telephone box. And inside you can see the ground plan down here. Here's the telephone, and they sold newspapers as well. So they put in 2 telephones open to the public, and they'd sell newspapers from the other side of the kiosk. This was 1895. The city government allowed the Copenhagen Telephone Company to install and operate up to 15 telephone boxes for a 15-year period. And the city architect, Fritz Koch, designed them. These were 9 meters tall. That's 27 feet plus. They had a floor area of approximately 90 square meters. That's 90 square feet. And they were constructed in pine wood on a granite plinth. I mean, these are spectacular buildings. And then later, Fritz Koch died, and another architect, Martin Nielsen, designed a larger box, again with two telephone points. You can't perhaps see it. I should have blown it up, but here's the ground plan. So you've got a telephone, and you've got a sales area and a little office. People didn't like these new designs, so they built some more of the old ones. I did do that. There we are. You can see it's got 2 telephone points, and then it's got a delivery office, and it's got a shop front. So shop front, telephone, message and delivery office. And here's a lady sitting in her telephone kiosk in a satirical magazine of in Copenhagen. This is 1898. So here she is as a young woman on the telephone in her kiosk, and she's saying, "Hello, hello, is that the exchange? Could you please ask kiosk 6 if she'd like to have lunch with kiosk number 9?" And the two kiosks can be seen walking off together for lunch. This is central Copenhagen, which is almost an island. And that's where these little telephone boxes, well, big telephone boxes, were scattered all across central Copenhagen. This is a postcard. You know what collectors are like. I'm trying to get a picture of every telephone kiosk that there ever was in Copenhagen. And I think I'm very nearly there. But they were open from 7 in the morning till 11 at night. You know, the original 7-Eleven, if you like. 10 o'clock in the winter. And 4 were eventually open 24 hours a day. And each kiosk, as I said, contained 2 telephones. And they also sold newspapers and magazines, stamps, that's postage stamps, theatre and concert tickets, insurance policies, box numbers. There was a poste restante system. Anything that was small and could be sold to a local audience. So it was quite a good business. And advertising space was the other thing that they offered. Because, I mean, these are tall, as I say, 27, 30 feet. So they did small ads, they did posters, they advertised films and cigarettes and all sorts of things. And you could ring a telephone kiosk to leave a message, which they would transcribe and then give to a messenger to take to another place.
For a fee.
For a fee. Oh gosh, well, they're in business. So, and they had bicycle messengers, and these were mainly young teenage boys from the look of it. And they also offered a service where you could buy a box number, and you could have your correspondence sent to the box number, and they would forward it to the recipient for small ads of various kinds. And from the beginning, you could send telegrams, these very attractive telegrams. Of course, they're not telegrams. You ring them up. You say, I want to write to Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, congratulations on your silver wedding. And they'd write this down, put it on one of their pretty telegraph forms, which you would buy. And then they'd give it to a boy on a bike, and the boy on the bike would deliver it, is how it worked. And they would also do parcels. And they would also take letters late at night and deliver them to the train station so that they would catch the last post going to the west of the country. And you could book taxis. So, you know, you can imagine what you could do with this, with these enterprises. There we go, one boy, one bike, one telegram. 2 companies, in fact. There's the Aktieselskab Copenhagen's Telephone Kiosks and Copenhagen's Telephone Aktieselskab. So these 2 companies are competing and building these boxes and offering services. There's another boy on a bike. He's picking up or handing in a message. This is from September 1901, the bicycle messenger. And 20 euro. For a especially speedy bike, 35 euro. And this is a card by Sven Fischer. So here's one of the telegram envelopes. And you can see they incorporate the design of the box in their logo. Another one, and again you can see the logo incorporates the design of these phone boxes. And there are a lot of these telegram letterheads. From the beginning in 1896, they issued stamps, again incorporating the design of their telephone kiosk into the stamp, 5 and 10, and later 25. in two different colors. And then new designs, and of course overprints. And I'm missing one. I know who's got it. He lives in Norway, and he's very reluctant to. He's got more than one. He's still very reluctant to let it go. So, yeah. In fact, I'm missing two. You can see in the this one here, the doorway to the kiosk is filled in. Down here, the door to the kiosk has got a little chunk of light in it. So there are some nice varieties you can look at. The shading on the background is different. And if this is your kind of thing, you can go down this particular rabbit hole, which is not my thing, really. And then there are ceiling labels, which they put on the backs of the telegram envelopes. These are all from before the First World War, and these are from the 1920s. And these later labels, they also put a value on with a surcharge and use them as stamps. And later still, there are no records of who printed them, how many they printed. There's absolutely nothing. There's nothing in the town, in City Hall in Copenhagen. There's just absolutely nothing that I've been able to find. And there's nothing in the philatelic literature. This is a new design, and I say probably after 1935. That's simply from empirical evidence. Here's a list of the kiosks, and they're numbered, you can see. So one is Kongens Nytorv, and number 2 is Groningen, and number 3 is Nytorv. Nytorv means new square. Kongens Nytorv, the King's New Square. And then number 4 is Rådhusplassen, which is Town Hall Square, and so on. And this is from the company phone book from 1937. And they've got postmarks. I like postmarks. And here they come. So you can very satisfactorily collect the numbers. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I don't know how many numbers there are. There isn't a definitive list. You would think there was by now, but there is no list. You can get pen cancels. And I love this. There's a left-handed pen cancel, the right-handed pen cancel, and the crossed pen cancel. And you get special head office cancels. And you can find covers. This is an express cover from 20th of January 1897. Covers are immensely rare. These things are completely ephemeral. You know, this is a wedding invitation. It's sending theatre tickets. It's sending, you know, you've got material to collect from your box number. And what do? You bust it open with your thumb, you take the stuff out, and it goes straight in the bin. So these covers are extremely rare. And if I find one, if I see one for sale, I try to buy it. And mostly I've been lucky or determined or stupid. But they're really hard to find. And as I say, I'm trying to collect the postcards as well. This is the telephone kiosk in Sultor. That's Silver Square. Here's one from the other side, same box. Another cover, undated, because you can see there's no dates in these postmarks at all. But they cancel the stamp. And yeah, another kiosk there with the boy with the bike, and then another one which says "Hermed in pack." So this is a letter accompanying a parcel which is being delivered within Copenhagen. Yeah, you can see the box there, the kiosk there, just behind the lighting standard. And as I say, they would receive letters. So this one is from Sweden, and it's sent to kiosk number 11 in Lille Triangle in Copenhagen. Yeah, they also changed the names of some of these boxes from time to time, which is a bit confusing. So they would receive the letter from wherever, and you can either pick it up or for a fee they would deliver it. Here's another one in Österbro. Yeah, and there you can see a number at the top, 8471, and here 94. So this is, and you can see the postmark. So the 94 is the 9th of April, 8471 is the box number, and so this has been sent to here, the kiosk at Kultor, that's Cole Square, and you can see with the stamp here, it's been forwarded from the box number. So it's arrived at the box number and it's been sent on to the recipient. Why would you want to do that? Well, perhaps you didn't want the sender to know your address, for example. Or you wanted everything to do with something you were selling in the newspaper in a classified ad to be brought to you together, and it was more convenient because perhaps you were out at work and you wanted to have them so you could collect them from the kiosk. Yeah, yeah, this is number 5. This is number 5, but they're different places. Thank you. So yeah, you can see this one says Kultur, and this one says, does that work?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, so you can see this is Kultur, and this one is Nure, what? Which one is that? Anyway, it's a different place, as you can see. So, and as I say, the box number. Here's another picture. This is the kiosk in Kultur. That's the kiosk that letter was sent to. And you can see actually just in the distance here, the advertisements on the outside of the kiosk. Another one again. This is number 64. I think that must be a box number. It's sent to kiosk number 2. And it's, as I say, presumably a post restant fee. So number 64. And here's a stereo card of the kiosk at Groningen, which was the one we just saw. Then here's one that's forwarded to the night train. And you can see it's sent to Tarm, which is in Jutland, and it's gone on the Copenhagen Korsør Railway, and it's been delivered by the kiosk to the train station to catch the night train. It's a form of express, but it's cheaper than the post office system of express. Yeah. That is it's a letter card. So it's not a reply card. It's basically they sold these letter cards. You wrote your letter inside it. It had gummed edges. You'd lick the gum, close it up, and off it would go. So it's a letter card. As I say, a €5 telephone kiosk stamp, quick local delivery to the post office at the Copenhagen Central Station. And the €10 is what the sender is using to have the letter delivered to Tarm by the National Post Office. So you could really do an overnight mail. It was very quick because the trains were very reliable, the local post was very reliable, and the National Postal Service was very reliable. And so this was probably delivered between 6 and 7 in the morning, having been posted the previous evening in Copenhagen. And here's another one. This is also a letter card, incidentally, and forwarded within Copenhagen. You can see they've changed the kind of postmark. This is kiosk number 9. And I think that, you see, is not a date. That's the PO box number, the postal stamp number, the box number operated by the kiosk. Here we've got another card sent from Berlin to a kiosk, and then with this 25 euro stamp, it's forwarded to the recipient. And it's addressed to Miss Sander by Carl. So addressed to Miss Sander, and it's from Carl. So Carl is his name here, and here's Miss Sander. This is another one to Miss Sander. This one sent from the UK. It's a love letter. I think Miss Sander had quite a lot of different love letters from different guys. So it's from a different correspondent. So I think they use these PO box, these kiosks, as a kind of convenient go-between for gentlemen having affairs and ladies looking for short-term relationships. And he writes here, this is sent from London to the kiosk at Newtor. It's got a label. It's a love letter addressed to the same Miss Sander as the postcard from Berlin, but from a different correspondent. And here you can see in the center, he signs himself. He says he's going to sign himself J.E.G. Jeg elsker Grete. So I think Miss Sander's name was Grete. And here's the English. In future, I'll write only on the card the signature Jeg, J-E-G, which means I, and signed off, I love Grete. So there's begs an awful lot of questions, this kind of correspondence. And you find these little pieces of evidence of another one to Miss Sander, this time from Belgium, but from the same guy, because he writes, Jeg elsker Grete, I love Grete, and it's addressed to my dear love, little Grete, at the beginning of the letter there. So, kjæreste Grete, jeg elsker dig. This one's addressed to an opera singer, and it may be that she wanted her fan mail sent to a kiosk rather than to her home. She was quite famous, Karen Maria Nielsen. This is sent by the Frederiksberg Freemaker Forening, the Frederiksberg Stamp Club, basically. But it gives us an indication of the period. So this is after 1935, because that's when the club was founded. So I couldn't figure out any other way of finding them. Here's a receipt. Well, it's a bill, basically, for €1.29. So the office would hand out the bills, and they would come into the office and pay them. Because it took me ages to figure out how they got their money, and I found this little receipt. Yeah, and as I say, the telegrams are really quite remarkable. This is one of my very favorites. This here, Lukensving's telegram, is a good luck telegram. Congratulations. Yeah, sorry. Congratulations. Greetings, telephone telegram. And you can actually research the printers. This is by Wilhelm Subor's Descendants Company. And they were a lithographer, book supplier. So you can dig into the kind of printing history of Copenhagen using these telegrams sometimes. And we're very lucky today with so much available digitally. You can actually really find out who made it, when was it made, what company was it, and who designed it sometimes. Another very pretty telegram from 1898. Printed by the same company. Another telegram here from 1899, and that's the one I used. You see, they're very keen on the iconic kiosk, and you find this all over the place. So this one, no reference to a printer or an artist. This is another from 1903. You can find out the designer, and again, you can see down here you've got the kind of the winged telephone kiosk as the logo. Yeah, another one. This is Rosenborg Castle. And again, this is printed for the company. And again, you can see the logo at the bottom. You've got the kiosk in a circle. And occasionally you can find the designer by looking really carefully at the illustration, the designs. And you can see there's a GB in there. And that's, or CFB rather, CFB. And it's Christian Frederick Beck. This is another one, 1909, printed by Levison. Levison printed the first postcards in Denmark, in Copenhagen, beginning in the late 1880s. But they were also he was also producing these. And again, you can find the name of the artist and you can look into the artist. This guy created the 1914 Christmas seal for Denmark. So these are jobbing artists taking the money where they can and providing designs for whatever purpose is required. That's the Christmas stamp for 1914. Another one in 1908. And again, found the painter, Fritz Krauel. Another one here with the Danish arms at the top. And this is underneath, we can find L. Meyer and Storm and Trier are the people who printed it. And this one is actually copyrights because the Danes produced a copyright law in 1912, because before that, it was pretty much a free-for-all. There was no copyright, so people would steal each other's designs. Yeah. Here's one today. As I say, they still exist. And this one's used as a coffee shop. And in honor of the Lego we've got here, there's a few little Danish Lego people and a complete Danish Copenhagen telephone kiosk made of Lego. So thank you very much. I have questions. Just questions for what I've done is I've brought a few pages if you want to have a look at the stuff for real, but that's a bit later on.
Mark, you want a microphone or?
Oh, I can shout it. So these kiosks, where there was room for the telephones, do you know what's there now instead of the space for telephones?
Coffee shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, some of these you can still, well, probably not now actually, because the times are changing. But they used to do newspapers as well. I think the newspapers carried on for a long, long time. But this one is Kongens Nytorv, isn't it, Beata? Yeah, this is Kongens Nytorv, which is this is in front of one of the nicest hotels in Copenhagen, which is Hotel Angleterre. And it's on the corner of the square on a sunny day, and it's a coffee shop, and they do light lunches and so on. And most of them do something similar. There's a number, they're not all there. Some of them have been moved to other towns. You can find these in Aalborg, in Aarhus, in Helsingør, and other places. But yeah, the ones that are still there are being used for commercial services of some kind, but mainly coffee shops. The bigger kiosks actually are a better bet because there's more room to put kitchen stuff in and so on.
Big correspondence to the Sanders.
Yeah.
Do you have any that marked return to Sander?
Return to Sander, you mean? No, I don't. And I don't know how many there are. As I say, the covers I don't think there's more than 100 covers available from the whole period. There's no register. I've tried to make a list, but it's just incomplete. Yep.
So the two mail services was you could come there, pick it up, or you could have it delivered to your
Yep.
house.
Yeah, they didn't do it the other way around. They wouldn't, as far as I'm aware, come and collect a letter from your house.
But would they have it registered? Did you have to register to be allowed to receive?
My guess is they sold box numbers, and they'd have a book, and it'd be numbered 1 through N.
And any of those books survived?
Not that I'm aware of. As I say, I've been to City Hall, I've been to the Copenhagen Museum, and they have nothing, except the architect's drawings, which I reproduced earlier on. There's nothing else at all. So, yes, please.
When did they stop being tall?
In the 1960s, the last one shut down. I mean, the company was liquidated in the 1980s. So it lasted about 100 years. But now I don't know whether they're owned by the city and leased to concessions or whether the individual companies own them. My guess is they're leased by the city as concessions, because the city occasionally needs to move these when they've got roadworks or road widening or whatever. So they're not all in the same place they used to be. So if the city's got any sense, they've kept the freeholds so they can just do as they please with them. Yeah, please.
You said they were made out of pine.
Pine wood, yes.
Still,
And they're still around. They have these one. I haven't got the images here, but they have this wonderful copper. Yeah, well, you can see it here because that's green. So that's copper, and these panels here, these panels are really very intricately carved wood, showing Danish industries and enterprises and technology. And they really are very, very, I've got a lot of pictures of these things, because Beata and I spent a day walking around Copenhagen on this very sunny day, taking pictures of the design panels and so on. And I mean, they are very attractive buildings. I guess they might be on heritage listings now, most of them. And there's certainly one, there's a kind of a building, a museum of Danish buildings, and there's one in there. But yeah, they are an icon of Copenhagen. So if you go to Copenhagen, just go and have a cup of coffee in one of these places. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, please.
How many were lost?
I think there are 13 or 17 left. So there's probably lost 12.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, but as I say, some of them have been moved to other cities, because I mean, they are quite attractive buildings. So if you're looking to sort of enhance a forlorn looking square in a provincial town, one of the more provincial cities of Denmark, it can certainly brighten up a corner. But yeah, anyway, great survivors, and this huge, hardly known, hardly told social history of what goes on sort of in the undercurrents of Denmark, as well as being a great source of local stamps for collectors. So yes.
Do you know if any other cities did something similar?
They did. Yeah, there were several other companies. There was a kiosk company in an area of Copenhagen called Frederiksberg, which is actually only a couple of miles from the city centre, but it was a separate business. There was a company in Aalborg, which is a town in Jutland. But actually, the kiosks go way back. I mean, this kind of building comes out of Turkey, comes out of the Ottoman Empire. And I think the first ones in Europe were either in Paris or in Vienna. And I'm talking, this 18th century, early 19th century. So in a way, they're modeled on these sort of Oriental kiosks from the Ottoman Empire. So the little shop in a small building enterprise is a thread through certainly European, I imagine, world commercial history, because it's I'm sure in the Roman Empire you'd find little wooden shops that were pop-up shops, and this is a rather more permanent version of a pop-up shop. So yeah, you could spend a lot of time going down this particular avenue, I think. But it's hard. I mean, I'm missing some stamps. The covers are tough, and one day I might get enough to put on a proper display. But at the moment, it's not possible. So, okay.
Thank you so much, Chris.
All done.
When my kids ask me why I collect stamps, I say, I don't collect stamps, I collect communication history. This is a wonderful example of that. Not just about stamps, it's about telling stories. So again, thank you so much, Chris, for sharing this amazing story.
Thank you very much. Do have a look. Show and tell.
Yep. we had asked for a frame in this room and there wasn't one, and so Chris has provided the display here, so.
Yep.
The single frame display on a table.
You see up this is 16 pages. One day it might be 5 frames, but I don't think I'm going to live long enough. So it's why I buy the postcards.
Yes.
16 pages, that's a one frame exhibit.
Yep. Yeah, but the trouble is, it's more than a 1 frame exhibit.
Yeah, I'll tell Henrik there.
No, you know, you know,